There we go. Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Coach Dub, got Justin Wells. This is about our regularly scheduled time, but we got some breaking news to talk about as well. The 2026 class for the Longhorns just lost somebody. He's now in their 2025 class, Zelus Hicks from Carrollton, Georgia, according to On3's Hayes Fawcett. Reclassified to the Longhorns 2025 class. They're going through his rankings right now, so we'll see what On3 says about where he fits in. Before that, he was I think ranked number 65 in the On3 industry ranking, somewhere around there.
Number 6,
kind of top 150 type player. We had tracked this recruitment throughout the spring as a player who was from Georgia, interested in Texas, kept saying the right things, kept showing interest, committed to Texas. Took a visit to Tennessee, I think last week, maybe a couple weeks ago.
Last weekend.
But now we have news that Hicks has switched to the 2025 class. Charlie, just kind of curious what your thoughts are on him. We posted your thoughts on him as a prospect and a story over on Inside Texas. But what does this mean, just for him as a prospect starting this college process, probably, in about a month or so?
Yeah. You look around, a lot of kids are starting to reclassify if they can. I know Justin, everybody's mentioned this, but you look at Ryan Williams, who's still 17, reclassified and came out early.
17.
And so it's huge, right? Because he gives the Longhorns another safety in his class, a guy who may come in physically ready, an early enrollee. So that's huge. But, man, you get a lot of young guys into the program that fits the same mold of – when I look at him, I look at Jelani McDonald. I see Derek Williams, a physical safety, imposing safety who's going to come down and try to knock your chin strap loose, right? A guy who probably can compete and play on special teams like day one. And just – man, that safety room, Blake Gideon is doing a great job of adding quality depth in that room, man, and continue to just build the talent and competition level. So just another awesome gift for Longhorns in this 25 class now that he's reclassified.
Roaster's got a good question. Is he already 18? Is he soon,
Yeah,
Justin?
He is 18.
And so we know the Longhorns still have their eyes probably on adding guys to the cornerback position in this 2025 class. Right now, they just have Caleb Chester. They're interested in guys like Dorian Brew. We know who Eric reported about. Check that out on Inside Texas. Remind me of that name again, or is that
Cortland Guillory and Kobe Sellers and Devin Sanchez. There's about 4 or 5 guys that are kind of hanging around the rim, and don't be surprised if Texas snags one of them. I think they feel good on Guillory, and so that one's going to be interesting. But they're going to add another corner. And this is the Hicks one. This is no surprise to people at InsideTexas.com. We can talk about it now, guys. Remember, we got the ultimatum. We couldn't talk about it for like 2 months because we knew it was happening. We can talk about it now. The one thing I want to talk about is who in the heck did his measurement? Because I've met this kid multiple times. If he's 6'3", I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, he's not 6'3". But I'll tell you one thing. He has a wingspan of a kid that is 6'3". He plays like a hawk. And funny enough, they show high school football in Georgia on Friday nights. And so after my Calvary Day Liberty County game, I got to actually watch Douglas County and Carrollton play each other. And so and Hicks played pretty well. His job was kind of staying over the top of Aaron Douglas, a Texas target and Texas A&M commit out of Douglas County. And so I want to see who measured Hicks because he's not 6'3". I'd say at best maybe 6 foot 6'1". But I'll say this: getting this kid on campus early, like Charlie said, is huge. People wanted another safety. They have got another safety in this class. This has got to shoot them into the top 5.
One of the things I mentioned, he had visited Tennessee and he gave some quotes to our friend Steve Wiltfong. Liked what he saw. Very stock quotes. I know we're trying to bill a lot of things as being big deals in recruiting, but very normal quotes. Enjoyed the visit. He did not decommit, just reclassified. And a lot of times you see players, especially at this stage in the game with 30 days to go, they may, if they're going to be making their choice in a couple weeks, they may change. But Justin, by no account does it seem like that didn't happen. Do you think it's imminent?
No, I don't. And you never know. Like the next month, listen, it's going to be crazy. That's why you have to come to InsideTexas.com every single day and just kick refresh. That's the best way to do it because we're checking in on this one. Tennessee it's at that moment where the last few schools that are still clamoring for him, they knew he was going to reclassify. Anybody that's in this recruitment knew he was going to jump into the 25 cycle. So they're trying to get a guy in there late. They're going to throw some, they're going to throw some numbers. They're going to throw some enthusiasm at him to see if he can do it. But Joe, I really do feel like with it being almost literally a month away from signing day, I think Hicks and Texas are just fine. I'd feel a lot better if they could get him on campus this month, and I think they are definitely working to do that.
One of the things, it's a very good point. Hadn't thought about this. Is he going to be able to take an official visit to Texas now? Yeah.
He should be. Yes, he should be. He can do that November 20. He can do that November 23rd. He can do that. Oh man, there's only a couple weekends open to do that.
Right. It's only these 2 weekends. So
yeah,
he's either
in Fayetteville next weekend, then they're going to be in College Station 4 weeks from now. They've got 2 weeks to get him in. Let's do some fact checking to see if he might come in for Florida or he might come in for Kentucky.
Exactly. So, but yes, to answer that question, great question, Nathan. Hadn't thought about that, but glad to think about it. Also, Charlie, going through your evaluation from way back in, what was it, September? Yeah. You posted he was kind of like analogous to Derek Williams. The Longhorns have Derek Williams. Man, they have him playing a little bit more of the free safety role, I believe. Michael Taft kind of doing a little bit more strong safety stuff. You still see that being the case now that, think of a hypothetical defensive backfield a few years down the road where Jonah Williams is there. Do you think that's still something that they'll entertain?
I say so. I see him as more of an in-the-box safety because he loves to hit. And if you watch Jonah Williams tape, he can fly from sideline to sideline, hash to hash, and go get the ball, right, if it's thrown in the air. So, but the good thing is these guys are interchangeable. They can play both safety spots. And you look at the versatility of everybody they're recruiting, it doesn't matter if you play strong or free. You can interchange. It doesn't matter. And so he's just a versatile DB, man, who can line up everywhere. You might even have him. I'm not saying he'll play nickel, but he probably can play that spot too. Like, he's really physical, but he has good cover skill, good ball skills. So I think the guys are interchangeable, and that makes the defense really, really hard to try to read when you got versatile guys like that.
Charlie, he lined up at nickel Friday night in the game I watched.
Okay,
he's got some of that crossover you're talking about. He is a versatile kid, and again, I'd love to see the measurement on his wingspan because that kid looks like a condor the way he covers. And so I think that's what Texas wants. They want those multi-versatile guys. And again, Coach Williams said this, tip your cap to Blake Gideon. I don't care how they got him. He's the safety coach. You got to give him credit.
I'm, right now, all these networks are waiting to throw a ranking in there. Y'all think he stays around the same place?
I don't know. He fell. Did you notice he fell in the last rankings? In the 2026 cycle? Not much. It wasn't much. There was just a little bit of movement. That's a good question, Joe. I don't know yet. We need to look up the top 6 or 7 safeties and kind of see where he kind of fits into that box because I'm telling you, I think this is going to push them into the top 5. I think they have the number 6 rated class right now. I could be wrong. I've been gone a long time. But a lot has changed since I've been on YouTube.
Here's the safety pecking order as it stands right now. Number 1, Jonah Williams. Number 2, Trey McNutt, Oregon commit. Number 3, Fahim Delane, Ohio State commit. Number 4, Hilton Stubbs, Miami commit. 5, Anquan Fagans, Auburn commit. 6, Tay Harris, Clemson. 7 is Ivan Taylor from Michigan. And I'll go up to the top 79, just so we'll talk about the air they're in. Eric Winters from Auburn. So he would have to be within that range, just about for him to remain in that top 100 range. The number 9 safety is the first one outside of the top 100.
He's probably a step or two. I'm going to guess ahead of that.
I could see that being the case. Still gives a good class. Means
it's a great kid.
You can also kind of start over at safety in 2026, and this is the best way possible to do something like that. Let's see if we can hit refresh on it. Okay, here we go. We were a little off, but let's see who has already given him some new rankings. Okay, all the different services have him as a 4-star. Trying to get this up on here. I'm sure some of this is like a placeholder, but we shall see. Add to stage. Boom. So On3 has him at 221. And all these rankings are going to come in. I think this is going to change rapidly. So make sure to stay looking at Zelus Hicks' page. But
see, this is more accurate. This is more accurate. I'd say 6'1" at best, Joe. You and I've seen him 6'1" at best. Why is Hayes tweeting out he's 6'3"? Like, silly boy, you got to do your editing, my man.
Maybe he's changed a little bit.
He's not going to give him afro. That's 1.5 inches. If he's giving him height because of the afro, come on, Hayes.
The other thing is, this is the second time this has happened at Carrollton. Julian Lewis, the quarterback who's visiting all over the place, he did the same thing.
Watch that kid flip to Indiana, man. Good night.
That'd be fun.
That is building up real momentum, guys.
Yes.
I was talking to some guys last week, and they're like, don't be shocked if that kid winds up with Kirk Cignetti in Indiana. I'm like, okay.
Justin, if Zelus Hicks does want to go to the Arkansas game or to any of the games, but he can't get a ticket, he's got to download Game Time. Go to the Game Time app, go to gametime.co. I used this to sell tickets not too long ago. It is extremely, extremely easy. You get to see the all-in price, what it costs to get into the stadium. If you're looking to get tickets to the Florida game, go ahead and check out Game Time. You can use the promo code ON3, that's ON3, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You can use it not just for Longhorn games. You can use it for any games. If there's an Aggie game you want to spend big bucks on to get into, maybe go to Arkansas, maybe go to the Kentucky game at home for senior day. Want to go to an NFL game about halfway through the season, NBA game. I saw Wemby do some crazy stuff the other day, and I think Sengun is going to put the Rockets in the playoffs. We'll see what happens with the Mavs. So if you want to do all this, Stars hockey, maybe you're in New York or DC and want to go see something at the Garden or even all the way in Landover, make sure you use Game Time. Promo code ON3, get yourself $20 off your first purchase, and terms apply. So if you're just now joining us, we spoke about Zelus Hicks reclassifying into the 2025 class, not decommitting, but just reclassifying. So if you want to check that out, scroll earlier in the video. But we got to get to our original plan. And Justin, you tore up the interstate this past weekend, heading to Georgia to see a bunch of Texas targets. Let's start with the 5-star. That is Justice Terry out of Manchester. For the people who may have clicked on this video, saw and are interested in, what did you learn from Justice Terry's conversations with him?
Yes, I gave him the most imposing award because he looks like a junior in college right now. Like, he is ginormous. He's got a big smile, too. He's got a nice wingspan. I mean, this guy's got giant hands, giant wingspan, and giant potential. Also, just a really good kid. Really small school. Manchester is like a 2A in Texas. It is really small. The only place I saw with actual grass on the football field. But, for Justice, he actually has a cousin named Jaden Terry, who's a 2026 on the team, who's kind of an up-and-comer as well. But for Justice, it feels like Colin Simmons to Texas last year. Like, Kirby Smart cannot let this guy leave. And that's kind of the consensus throughout his recruitment, that Georgia leads. There's a bunch of people that are still trying to get into the mix. Auburn bringing him in over the weekend. Texas bringing him in 2 weeks ago. I think he's really just trying to be thorough throughout the process, but I would be absolutely shocked if he doesn't wind up at Georgia. And strange enough, out of all the kids I saw, this is the only one that I think is kind of locked into Georgia. I think all the rest of them are moderately open, but this is a kid that, like I said, Kirby Smart can't let the number 2 rated defensive lineman in the nation leave his state. He just can't do it. It's 3 hours from campus. And so I would be shocked if Justice Terry isn't a Georgia Bulldog. That being said, he loved Texas. He thought it was an incredible atmosphere. He thought this is what life's like in the SEC. He thought they did it big. I think they just may have jumped into this recruitment maybe a little too late. Georgia had already solidified this thing for over 2 years. I mean, he got his first offer in 8th grade by Western Kentucky. His first major offer, Georgia, in 8th grade.
Coach, when you're looking at, I really love Justin's comparison about this being kind of like Kirby's Colin Simmons, like a guy that you can't let leave the state. Is that something that you believe to be similar?
Look, anytime you can get a monster in the trenches like that, you don't want to leave the state. You don't want to leave your own backyard. That guy's a game changer, man. He can do wonders for a program. And for a place like Georgia, you lose him in your own backyard, people are going to start looking at you sideways like, hey, how'd you lose that kid, right? Because he's going to go somewhere and tear it up. You lose him to a place like Texas, right, who is on the rise and creeping up behind you. Yeah, people are going to start to wonder, like, okay, Kirby, what are you doing? We're losing and Texas is gaining on us. What are we going to do in the future? So you definitely don't want to lose a guy like that in your backyard because, man, he's just a complete animal. He gets it done. And like Justin said, he's just a big kid with big paws, man. Like, it's like a big paws on a puppy, man. It's like, yo, once you get him in the mold and he grows, it's over.
The curious thing, maybe not curious, there's a couple interesting takeaways I have. One, you mentioned about Kirby and Georgia. There was a weird relationship between Kirby and coaches in the state of Georgia, and maybe it was Atlanta specifically. Like there was an odd time, in how there was an odd time with Ed Ogeron and some New Orleans coaches. If y'all remember that short-lived episode, I think the same thing kind of happened. Obviously, you said Manchester. That's like southern Georgia. That's almost the Florida part of Georgia. So it's a lot different. The other thing is, this is a player who we know Kirby Smart likes having stock defensive lines, and we've seen some crazy good defensive lines with like 330, 340 pound players who a lot of them are tearing it up for the Eagles right now. Did he give you a height and weight, Justin?
Yes. 6'3" and a half, almost 6'4", 285. No. 265. And right. I looked at him and I said, I have never seen 265 look that good in my life. 6'3" and a half, almost 6'4", 265. He's going to get to 290, 300 and going to be unblockable. This kid's going to play early in college. That's my biggest takeaway.
Like, imagine if Byron Murphy had 2 more inches of height
and some metabolism. Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's another thing we talk about. You talk about a 2A school. I'm not trying to make sweeping generalizations, but that's rural. Like you can name a lot of
only 4 stores in that town. Yeah.
Rural. Like you can name a lot of different 2A sites, and you know what the city looks like, and who knows what type of meals they have at that school, has at home. He can get to Georgia or go anywhere he wants and get, proper nutrition to fuel someone like him.
His coach actually mentioned that. Wait till he eats regularly. And he has great parents. Justice Terry has some of the best parents of recruits I have met, and that coach gave him a lot of credit. To give you another idea of how small, the head football coach is also the head basketball coach, and he's also the assistant principal. It's a little place. But Justice Terry's going to do big things, fellas.
I'm not saying I know anything because you went there. I wonder if he's got a paddle under his desk.
I didn't check, but that's something I would have probably checked 10 years ago.
Let's keep on going. And Coach, I'll go with you on this one. Joseph Mbachu is a big defensive tackle target for the Longhorns, but he's also very, very new to football. So how do you assess? You look at 6'5", 280, and you're like, okay, yeah, that guy's got the skill, the physical traits, but how do you determine if that juice is worth the squeeze?
Man, you really got to look at your class and look at your board and see where everybody stands and what you need. But somebody that big, you want to bring him in, right? Because you just want some clay to mold and make.
Yes.
If you can find an NFL guy that gets first guy to get off the bus, that's the guy you want. And so any coach worth their salt is like, I want to get this guy, I want to develop him, right? Because he's raw, hasn't played that long. If I can get my hands on him, man, it's going to boost my resume as a coach, but also he's going to help my team win. So it's all about, what Kenny Baker and everybody looks at when they look at the board and say, hey, where does he fit in the class, especially if they're able to get some other guys or fit him into the class. But him being new to recruiting, man, you really just got to talk to him about other things outside of football, right? Because
yes,
he's interested in so many other things before football. Find out what he really likes and find those interests, and you probably hit home with him.
Justin, you got to talk to him. It seems like there is a school. I mean, he's interested in the Longhorns, but it seems like there's a lot of interest from another school for Mbacho.
Yeah, actually, there's interest from a handful. Look, this is so new to him. He was my most wide-eyed and open-minded because he hasn't been jaded by the recruiting process. When Auburn brought him in this weekend for an official visit, that, sources told me they were going all in. They were going to try to push for a commitment. Well, with a kid that this new to recruiting, and I think he felt like he rushed his Florida commitment during the summer, that might have backfired on Auburn because I think his family, and this was coming from Joseph and some of his coaches at Grayson, they loved Texas. And it was a non-pressure situation. They didn't care what it looked like on the field. They cared about what everything else around it. And I think that's what kept Texas. Mbachu told me nobody is recruiting him harder than Texas. And if you look at Texas big board, I wouldn't be surprised if Mbachu's above some of these other guys that I actually have seen that have played for years, that are committed to other schools. Mbachu is that clay that Coach Williams talks about. This kid has a ton of upside. He was playing 3-tech on Thursday night, and I felt like he was a little out of place. I think they ran – it wasn't a 3-4. It was like a 3-3 stack kind of defense. But – he was versatile. He played some inside. He played some outside. He was active. He did pretty well, but you could see he's so young and it's so new to him. And this is a kid that you bring in, you bulk up, and you develop. And here's the best thing about Joseph Mbachu: no bad habits. Unbelievable kid, unbelievable parents, great upbringing. He is. If you're gonna, you either go for portal or you go for development. And this is a kid that is 100% development. He's not going to play early, but when he does get on the field, he will be a young monster. Get him to about 305, 310. And I don't think he loses any twitch. I think you give him functional mass. Like I said, he's young. He just put on pads for the first time in the spring, gentlemen. This whole thing is new to him. Texas, Auburn, Miami, Georgia still kind of around the rim a little bit. South Carolina's pushing a little bit. I think he waits till right before signing day for his decision.
We'll stay with another Grayson Ram, and we can't skip over the commits from that great program. Commit, excuse me. And that is Nick Brooks, probably the one of the largest, if not the largest players in Texas 2025 class. And Coach, you kind of wrote about him. Looking back a little bit, what he was able to do on the field, you see somebody who can be just, I'm trying to think out loud. You look at DJ Campbell and you just kind of think of maybe a bigger, little bit slower, you see a guard. You see someone who's going to move people out of the way. He doesn't need a comparison.
Yeah, big road grader, a big mauler that you can put at the guard. I think we wrote about on IT what Texas is kind of looking for, maybe the next class to add to the report. Like, he's one of those big guys that you need. If you want to just push people vertically, run inside zone behind him, load him up and say, all right, we're running behind you, big boy. Let's go. He's a big road grader guy. Like, just as I wouldn't put him maybe at tackle. I don't think wouldn't want to put him out there on the edge, but you put him at guard and say, we're running behind you, or goal line situations, we're getting yards every single time. He's a big guy, big road grader. So that's what I see in big Nick Brooks, man. He gets in a program like Texas, get with strength and conditioning coach. I think like he can really shape his body and get a little quicker. But yeah, it's a big project as well.
Justin, what were your conversations like with Brooks?
A really happy kid. I think, he right after I spoke to him, he was, setting up a visit to Auburn, and it turned out he just had a couple teammates making the trip down there, and he wanted to enjoy a game, go down there and enjoy it and let Auburn dote on him for a little bit. The thing about Nick is he's actually slimmed down. Like, if you remember when we first started covering him, he didn't look as good as he looks now. Like he's actually slimmed down. I'd say he's in the, maybe 345, 350 range. He does move people. He can definitely move people. He's definitely not a tackle, even though he has good feet. He doesn't have a kick step, but he has good feet. But it's that mauling type that, just like Coach said, if you want to go vertical with your line, just that's kind of the guy to do it. The thing to know about Nick Brooks is that I think he's a kid that will benefit from being in around like-minded people, being in a room of these offensive linemen that have really, that's what Texas has built their O-line around, is around development and sending them to the NFL. They haven't hit the portal a whole lot in the last few years when it comes to the offensive line. And Nick Brooks is a guy I think can bridge that as well. I think he would take a few seasons to be ready to play at the college level. You mentioned DJ Campbell. I wish we could put DJ's mind in Nick's body, because that, I'm telling you, like DJ is mean. Like DJ is a guy you just don't fist fight. You just don't get into it with him like that. Nick is a kind of a big soft teddy bear, which you can pull that meanness out of him. And I think that's what Kyle Flood's going to do. He loves Kyle Flood. They talk on a week-to-week basis. He loves Sark. He likes all the players. He said they all treat him. They treat him like he's family. And in this NIL era, I think this is a player that it's really going to benefit his life. Like, it's going to change his life and his family's. And that's a really cool thing to see up close and personal. And it was senior night at Grayson, so you get to see his family. You got to see him. I asked him if he was going to be the homecoming queen. He said probably not. But he took a visit to Auburn. It was basically nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to pop back into Texas. He was at Texas, Georgia. He might try to pop back in sometime in November. But that one's one to watch, just because, people are still coming at him, namely Auburn. There's a few other schools that are still in pursuit. And so we're kind of watching that one. But overall, Texas missed on Michael Fasusi, and I felt like Brooks is the guy that kind of slid into that spot. And Texas isn't done with Fasusi. So the question is, does Brooks stay in this class if they can flip Fasusi? Well, Fasusi's a numbers buster. So that's something we're going to look at over the next month at Inside Texas, how that recruitment could shape this one. Brooks is a take, fellas. You would be happy to have this guy on your roster. He's a big teddy bear. All you got to do is get him a little meaner and a little leaner.
Last but not least, Coach, I know you've heard of when you were, in the recruiting world, what's the strangest major or like future professional interest that you heard of a player coming in? It's like, I want to do this someday. Maybe not strange, but most unique, something like that.
Oh man, a kid said he wanted to be a massage therapist. I was like, all right, hey, okay, I get it, I guess, but that was probably the strangest, man.
Justin, how many people have you heard tell you that they want to be chefs if football works out for them or not?
One. Just one. Just one. And Mr. Kevin Wynn out of Greene County High School in Greensboro, Georgia. Let me tell you something. What's funny about this recruitment was that when I was talking to one of his assistant coaches who was taking me to his culinary class, he was in the middle of cooking. I said, what is it, like a home ec? I took home ec. He goes, no, this is much better than home ec. It's like an industrial restaurant kitchen in this school. And he's back there with his hairnet and his all of his stuff. And he's chopping up, getting chicken ready, getting biscuits ready. And we could only talk from 5 to 7 minutes because you cannot burn these biscuits. And that was imperative to him that we do not burn the food. We have to finish that. Actually, we had to talk some in the kitchen, which I did try some of that. Needless to say, Kevin Wynn's committed to Florida State, loves Florida State still. I know most kids view it as a dreadful season in Tallahassee. I don't think Wynn sees it that way. I really do think his perspective is a little different. Here's what he told me. He's going to do two things in life. He's going to cook and he's going to play football. And if he doesn't play football, he's just going to cook. But he's going to do those things. And his coaches made it very clear. If you want this kid's signature, you're going to have to offer the best culinary experience possible. And so that, in a sense, some of that gets laddered to the University of Texas. And then you start looking at some of the vast eating experiences that you can have in Austin, Texas, and around there, from Grant Pinkertons to Terry Black's. There's so many opportunities there. That's what Kevin Wynn, that's the sales pitch. That's it right there. You want a way to his heart and his signature, it's going to come through food. And one of the coolest things about Kevin too, South Carolina is still pushing. Georgia is still on him, which I found that real fascinating. And I was told they would definitely take him right now. And if you watch his tape, I'm not surprised. He is a booger in that middle defensive line. Like he gets low pads. He is tough. 320, 325. Really just a great kid, a great experience. He really wants to come back to Texas in November. He's trying to reschedule it. He was supposed to come for Texas, Georgia. It fell through. He's still looking at that. But my biggest takeaway from Greene County, outside of the aspiring chef, was that he's one of those rare kids that doesn't see Florida State's season as being something that should deter him. He really likes that defensive line coach. He really likes the core values that they have there right now. And he's more, I would say, he's just thinking more pragmatically than a normal 18-year-old kid does. Like he really knows what he wants. Most kids, Charlie and I, we talk to, they don't know what they want to do with their life. They'll tell you the same thing. They want to play in the NFL. Yeah. Kevin Wynn never mentioned the NFL one time. This guy, he wants to be on Triple D. Like this guy wants to hang out with the man, Guy Fieri, and do that kind of stuff. Post-football or pre-football, it doesn't matter. He's going to hit you on the field, but he's also going to hit you on the table with those biscuits.
You know, a lot of people have criticisms of Mike Norvell. There we go. Criticism of Mike Norvell and his recruiting out of the high school ranks. I wonder if there's not a more important prospect for him right now, because you take a look at the Seminoles class. Yeah. You know, they do well in the transfer portal. They're number 23 in the country right now, which
it's impressive.
They have a commitment from Solomon Thomas from Jacksonville Reigns, an interior offensive lineman, 5-star. Next highest rated commit, Kevin Wynn. Yeah. So this is a player who, even though they only have one win and it was against a struggling Cal team that had to fly across country to play him, like, this is someone that they cannot really afford to lose, or else.
I wouldn't be surprised, Joe, if he sticks with his commitment. And everyone just assumes, because USC blew him away 2 weeks ago. He had never been to California before. He loved it. Like everything's sunny, a lot of traffic, there was so much there that kind of, I'm going to say it almost overwhelmed him a little bit. He loved it. He really did. I don't see Kevin Wynn playing football in California. That's my takeaway.
Exactly. Charlie, Justin, thank you for being nimble, getting some talk about Zelus Hicks. Of course, if you're just now joining us, come back to the beginning of the video. We go over Zelus Hicks reclassifying from the 26 class to the 25 class. Now, of course, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, head to InsideTexas.com, use that promo code IT1, get 2 months for $1. So, Charlie, Justin, thank you so much. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.